Alright, I'm back with another video. This time, the first edition of movies I've been watching recently. So, since I finished doing the Blu-ray collection videos, the long ones where I go label by label, showcasing everything I have, talking about all the movies I watched and so on, I thought why not start doing a video like this every once in a while, probably every month, near the end of it, where I talk about the movies I've been watching, because I'm constantly watching movies. In an average month, I'll probably watch around 30 to 40, maybe even more, sometimes maybe a bit less. So I'm constantly working on my backlog, which is massive, as you know, if you watched my collection videos. People are constantly commenting on this. Why do you buy so much stuff? You don't even have time to play all this stuff. You don't have the time to watch it. Like, do you even watch this stuff? Do you even play this watch? Do you even enjoy it? Do you enjoy life at all? This sort of thing. People in real life also constantly are trying to tease me about this, but I think it's great to have a backlog of things to fall back on. I think it's great if I feel like watching a Japanese movie. I have maybe 100 to 150 movies in my backlog that I can pick from. I can pick whatever I feel like watching, and I have it readily available on a physical disc. That's great. So yeah, I'll start doing a video like this probably every month. Near the end of every month, I'll do something like this, where I have a stack of movies here that I've watched recently. This is not a movies I've watched this month style of video. So I have here 32 movies, and these are mainly things I watched in July. And then next month it's going to be mainly stuff I watched in August. So it's movies I watched somewhat recently that I feel like talking about. Right, so let's get into it. That's enough of an intro for me. First up, Duel by Steven Spielberg. This is his first full-length movie that he directed. This is just a Nordic Blu-ray. Nordic Blu-rays are a bit hit or miss when it comes to quality. I thought this was just fine. Universal is usually pretty good with their own Blu-ray releases, but yeah, this is just basic Nordic retail stuff. Some of the companies that release this stuff are awful. I'll probably comment on that at some point if I end up watching something by Solo Media, for example, who are just a garbage company. But yeah, this was a solid, pretty good Blu-ray. The movie itself, really fun thriller. Or fun is not necessarily the right word. It's about this guy who pisses off a truck driver and gets tormented by him. It's this sort of a car chase movie with the truck going after this guy in a much smaller car. Very well directed, especially for a low budget first movie for a director. So Steven Spielberg, not yet at the top of his game here, but yeah, it's really good. So if you haven't watched Duel and you're into the sort of 70s thrillers and kind of a pre-blockbuster, maybe something like that, then yeah, check out Duel. It's good. Another good movie. This is Only Angels Have Wings, directed by Howard Hawks, and this is a Criterion release. Really nice, high-quality release. It's a 1939 movie, an old one. It's about people who deliver mail by plane, so air mail pilots. Has Cary Grant in it. He's always great. Also has a romance, kind of a side plot with Jean Arthur. This is one of the movies where the romance plot line is actually really good as well. Usually romance plot lines are kind of, tacked on as an afterthought, because you have to have some kind of a romance between the main character and some random woman. But here Jean Arthur is great. The romance is great. The movie itself is I would give this a 10 out of 10. For me, Duel is a solid 8 out of 10. Enjoyable stuff. This is special. There's nothing really like this. 10 out of 10. Just a classic, an absolute masterpiece. Also has great special effects. 1939 miniature special effects with like plane crashes and everything done with miniatures. It still looks fantastic. So Only Angels Have Wings, high recommendation. It's a great movie. I also watched again another one of these Teru Oshii movies that I've been collecting. This is Blind Woman's Curse with Meiko Kaji as the main actress in it. So probably best known for Lady Snowblood and female prisoner Scorpion. Great actress. She plays here a Yakuza, crime boss, gang leader. She has this gang of men who follow her. It's kind of a simp movie in that sense. This is again one of those Teru Oshii movies that has a great premise. So obviously, Blind Woman's Curse. It involves a blind woman and a curse. That's surprising to everyone. It's like a mix of a Yakuza movie and a samurai movie with some horror elements. It takes place before modern times, so there aren't any firearms or anything like it. So it's this Yakuza who are kind of like they aren't samurai, but this movie has that kind of a samurai movie feel to it at many points because it takes place during, I think, early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, something like that. So people are just running around in like sort of clothing you would expect from a samurai movie and fight with katanas and this sort of thing. But yeah, it's another one of these Teru Oshii movies that I would give a 7 out of 10 to. It's pretty good, but it's kind of clumsy and the storyline kind of falls apart and it's not really told in an interesting way throughout the movie. And it's your typical Teru Oshii movie. It has great actors in it, a great premise. It's a fun movie to watch, but is it great? Not really. It's probably one of his better ones. I watched so many of these Teru Oshii movies that are like in the 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 range that I'm starting to kind of get bored by him at this point. But yeah, it's one of the better 7 out of 10 movies by Teru Oshii. A couple other Arrow Video releases that I watched. These aren't, by the way, in any particular order, so I will be jumping between, Arrow and Criterion and Eureka, and these aren't organized, these stacks, in really any meaningful way. I just pulled this stuff off of my shelf in the order that I happen to pull it off in. Right, so I watched this movie, The Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, directed by Luciano Ercoli, who is maybe a bit of a lesser-known Italian genre director. He didn't do much work, maybe directed only like 10 or so movies. This is one of his better ones, of the ones that I've seen, and one of the more high-profile releases. He also directed the Giallos, what were they called? They were also released by Arrow, like Death Walks on High Heels and this sort of thing. So he has some movies that are pretty well known, but nothing like spectacularly like all-time classic masterpiece material stuff, at least from what I've seen so far. But yeah, The Forbidden Photos of Lady Above Suspicion, it's an early kind of a giallo. I don't know why they call it a giallo really, because this is not like that. This is from 1970. So this is before Dario Argento became really famous with his giallo movies, so this Italian murder mystery crime movies with kind of like serial killers who kill women, this sort of thing. This is not really that yet. It looks like a giallo, but it doesn't play out like it. There isn't like a murderer with black gloves going around killing women. There is very little violence in this movie until the end. In the end part, there is like a reveal of who. There's this kind of a mysterious person who torments this woman. You can read from the back cover if you want to know more about the story. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm kind of trying to tiptoe around revealing too much, but there's this person and this woman, and there's kind of a blackmail thing going on, and in the end it's revealed who the blackmailer is, and there is some violence and action there. But for the most part, this is just the building up tension. It's a slow burner. It's not the most exciting movie out there. If you're looking for an action movie, this is definitely not it. But I thought it was a fabulously well directed and an interesting Italian kind of a proto horror, proto giallo movie. It was very enjoyable, so I would give this a strong 8 out of 10. I was positively surprised by it, but I wasn't expecting it to be that good. Another Arrow giallo, this is more in a vein of a typical giallo, is the Bloodstained Butterfly, which is your typical giallo. It's directed by Duccio Tessari, who is again one of these kind of a B-tier genre director from Italy. I watched Death Occurred last night, thought it was fine. This also, it's just fine, I guess. It has Helmut Berger in it. Oh yeah, this Blu-ray has an introduction by the actor Helmut Berger. It is one of the worst introductions to a movie I've ever heard. It is so bad. It's just this old man who barely can hold a coherent thought in his head, rambling on about like some nonsense about the movie. I don't even know why Arrow included it here. It's so bad. The introduction is awful. The movie itself, it's just fine. It's a 6 out of 10 giallo. Nothing special. There's a guy who goes around killing women, if I remember correctly. It's most likely correct. Yeah, a young female student is savagely killed. Surprise, surprise. That's a giallo movie for you. Right. Then I watched by 88 Films, Jacoman and Tetsu. I think that's how you pronounce it. Jacoman. Or maybe it's Jacoman, I don't know. Jacoman and Tetsu, this is an early black and white movie directed by Kinji Fukasaku. And maybe the biggest curiosity here is that it was written by Akira Kurosawa, the famous great director. The text is quite small. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there you go. This is not a Yakuza movie. I have to say that straight off the bat, because Kinji Fukasaku is kind of synonymous with that genre. This is not a Yakuza movie. Of course, he did direct other stuff as well, like what is the awful space movie? Like Message from Earth. What is it called? I have it on a shelf next to me somewhere. Yeah, Message from Space. That's one. He directed that. He did also direct some samurai movies like Legend of the Eight Samurai and stuff like this. But for the most part, he is known for his Yakuza movies. And this sounds and kind of the cover looks like a Yakuza movie, but it's not. It's a movie about fishermen. So there's this kind of a coastal fishing company run by this guy, who is the father of Ken. What is his last name? I don't want to mess it up. One of the most iconic Japanese actors, Ken Takakura. Yeah. And then there's this eye patch guy who's kind of hated by everyone at the company. So it's this movie about these fishermen who are in this coastal kind of, they are living in this company building by the coast, just waiting for the fish to arrive, and then they go to sea and catch all the fish and that sort of thing. So for the most part, you are just waiting for the fish to appear in this movie. And that's maybe one of the biggest problems I have with this movie. It was fine. It was enjoyable. It has some great actors in it, like Ken Takakura and so on. It has great cinematography. Gorgeous looking black and white movie, on the coastline with all the like waves crashing and everything. And the actual fishing scene when they go out to sea on this rickety little boat to catch all the fish and so on, that's shot really well. But for the most part, you're just sitting there waiting for the fish to appear, and nothing really of interest goes on. There is tension between the father and the Takakura character, because Ken had left the company kind of, and now he came back, and then there's this eye patch guy causing all kinds of trouble. But yeah, for the most part, it's just a kind of a boring movie. if it was directed by Akira Kurosawa, it would probably be much better, to be honest. But he didn't direct it, so maybe there's a reason for that. I would give a low 7 to Yakuman and Tetsu. It's all right. I don't regret watching it, but wasn't really that exciting. A couple of movies by Raro Video. I watched Killer Cop, directed again by Luciano Ercole, so the Forbidden Photos guy. And this is a politiotecchi, so a kind of a crime thriller with a political angle. It tells it not doesn't really tell the story, but it's based on a real terrorist attack. What is it called? It says it on the back cover. 1969 Piazza Fontana bombing. So it kind of tells some kind of a story related to that and the police investigation. Who did the attack and what is going on, and it was fine. I thought it was just fine. Raro Video has released a lot of these sort of politiotecchi movies that are just fine. I think it's good. I did enjoy my time with it. Do I remember much about it now, maybe a month later from when I watched it? Not really. It didn't really stick with me, but I remember kind of liking it, so it's like a basic 7 out of 10 for me. Another Raro Video release, Rulers of the City by Fernando Di Leo. Now, I was warned before I watched this that it's not as good as the other Fernando Di Leo movies that Raro has released. So that would be stuff like The Boss and what is the other one? The Italian Connection, these sort of movies. But I kind of enjoyed it. I liked it quite a bit. It's maybe a step up from Killer Cop, but it didn't set the world on fire by any means. But yeah, this is a kind of a revenge storyline, very generic revenge storyline set up. You have a little boy who sees his father get killed by mobsters, and then when he grows up, he wants to get revenge for his dead father, avenge his father, and this sort of thing. But there are some twists here. I don't want to spoil anything. There are some interesting twists here that I didn't really see coming. The action is really fun. There's also a lot of comedy in this movie that I think they pulled off pretty well. There's this sort of a comedy sidekick character who is a part of the storyline, who I thought was actually pretty funny. And yeah, I thought it was great. Also, Jack Palance, who has a better face for the villain of a mobster movie than Jack Palance here on the cover? Just a fantastic look. So yeah, I did really enjoy Rulers of the City. I think it's like a solid 7 out of 10. Good watch. I also watched one movie by Radiance. So this is just a mainline Radiance release. So of course, Raro Video in the UK, their Blu-rays are distributed by Radiance as a partner label, right? But I watched What Happened Was, which was a complete blind buy for me when it came out. It is directed by Tom Noonan, the actor whose face you can see there, very recognizable actor. And because of the reflection, I'll probably open this and to avoid the reflections. Also has really nice pink here, the disc and the obi. So yeah, What Happened Was, this was a magnificent find for me. I thought this movie was excellent. Never heard of it before. It's a 1994 American indie movie about this woman and man who are on a first date. So the woman invites a co-worker. They work at a kind of a legal company, I think. Invites him over for dinner, and they do whatever people do on a first date. So basically sit on a couch in silence, in awkward silence. This is an exceptionally awkward movie to watch. Both the Tom Noonan and the female lead, whose name I can't remember. Does it say it here somewhere? No, it doesn't really. I don't remember if I've seen anything where she is. Oh yeah, it's Karen Silas. It says it here on the special features list. Yeah, Karen Silas. They both are incredibly nervous, are playing nervous, and don't really know what to say to each other, and it is awkward. It is at times difficult to watch, but in a good way. I'm also, one thing that I should mention about this before I move on. I'm kind of curious if David Lynch ever saw this movie, because he would probably have loved it. This has a similar kind of dreamlike quality to it at times. It reminded me a lot of David Lynch, especially when the woman is reading this sort of a children's horror story that she wrote. She's a published author as well. She reads this story that she had written, and the way it's been lit and shot has this incredible dreamlike quality to it. Very disturbing. It turns into almost like a horror movie for that one portion. And just, yeah, I mean, this is a very, very high recommendation for me. I would give it a really strong 8 out of 10, maybe a low 9. I think this is one of the probably at least top 30 to top 20 releases by Radiance thus far. And they've released maybe like 120 movies at this point. So yeah, I was really into this. What happened was. Right, moving on to something completely different. This is Funny Face, featuring Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. This is a musical, and I hate musicals. I cannot stand musicals. But I still wanted to watch this one because I watched another movie by the same director that I really liked. So I wanted to check out Funny Face as well. Now, as far as musicals go, I would give this a strong 8 out of 10. Even though I hate musicals, I quite enjoyed this. It's a great musical, has incredible set design, incredible costume design, as you would expect from this genre of movies. It was just a good time. I don't vibe with musicals because I just don't have the personality for them. Like, I don't have this sort of energetic, happy-go-lucky personality that you need to really enjoy musicals. I'm much more into the dark and nihilistic stuff, as you can probably tell from the vast majority of the movies that I watch, stuff like Forbidden Photos and Killer Cop and Blind Woman's Curse and this sort of thing, and many of the other movies that are still to come. But yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that this is a great musical. It's great. And Audrey Hepburn is fantastic. She's really cute and funny. Fred Astaire is great. He is always great in every movie. He also has one of the most punchable faces in Hollywood history. So that's kind of a plus for me, because I like watching a musical where there's this annoying happy guy dancing, and I feel like I want to punch him in the face. That's a plus. So yeah, there we go. Funny Face. And the name Funny Face refers to Audrey Hepburn, I guess, in that movie. Right, so I watched another movie by the same director, and this is Charade by Stanley Donen, so the same director. Also has Cary Grant in it. Oh, not Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn. Has Audrey Hepburn in it as well, as it was in Funny Face, but then also Cary Grant, who was in Only Angels Have Wings. So some of the biggest stars of the time. This is from 1963. This was from the 50s, I think. 1956. So yeah. So a little bit later in this one. Charade is not a musical, thank God. It's kind of a comedy crime movie. There is this woman and a bunch of criminals who are trying to use her for their purposes. Not going to spoil anything about it. But yeah, I would give this one a strong 8 out of 10 as well. This is considered an all-time classic. I didn't necessarily like it that much. It's maybe a bit too long could have used a little bit of trimming down, especially near the end portions of it. But yeah, it's a twist-filled crime comedy movie. Really good time. Has great actors. Also released by Criterion, so you know that the disc is great and the movie looks great. Right. We are closing the halfway point at 25 minutes. I was hoping this would be maybe a bit shorter than I usually let these videos go to, but that's not going to happen when I open my mouth and start talking about this sort of stuff. So yeah, next up, probably the worst movie I watched from this batch, which is a massive disappointment for me, because this is The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the original movie, not the remake, released by Eureka here in the EU region. Now, this is a horror movie about a serial killer and also an awful slapstick comedy movie. That's maybe the biggest problem I had with it. They aren't really building any kind of tension here for real. There is this killer on the loose who wears this sort of a sack on his head. And I guess the only parts that I really enjoy about this movie are the scenes where the killer is pursuing his victims, because those have quite a nice amount of tension to them. This killer, he's always breathing really heavily, so you can see the sack kind of going up and down against his mouth, and there's this really strong breathing noise when he's around, which is pretty unnerving. But then everything else, besides those scenes, there's maybe like 3 scenes, maybe 4 scenes where the killer is doing the killing stuff. And then the other stuff, like what were they thinking with this awful slapstick comedy? The police and everyone are just flopping around like morons, and none of the jokes land. It didn't work for me at all. I was really disappointed by this movie. And after I watched it, I was in disbelief, and I had to go online and kind of Google what the general opinion on this movie is, and I found out that there is a lot of people who are also disappointed by this movie. But then this is also kind of considered a 70s horror classic by some people, which I just don't understand. This is from 1976. It's a strange one. I just didn't like it at all, so I would give it a low 5 out of 10. It's still a professionally made movie. Like, for me, if the movie is professionally made and it has some redeeming qualities, it cannot go below 5 out of 10. Because below 5 out of 10, those grades are reserved for the worst of the worst stuff. None of which is here, funnily enough, because I do watch quite a bit of bad movies as well. But in future episodes of this, there will be some horrifyingly bad movies included, and the Town That Dreaded Sundown is not that bad. I was maybe exaggerating a little bit. Right, so another one by Eureka. This one is much better. This is the noir movie Crisscross, featuring Burt Lancaster. If a movie has Burt Lancaster in it, I buy it and I watch it. It's that simple. Directed by Robert Siodmak. I think I've watched a couple of his movies before. They're always fine. I think Crisscross is, a fine noir. I wasn't blown away by it by any means, but yeah, especially the ending parts where they are. It's this sort of a crime noir where they are planning a armored car robbery, and the robbery itself was pretty nice looking with the smoke bomb and everything. It reminded me of the this is maybe a weird pull, but I think it was in the 1930s, there was this movie called Armored Car Robbery or something like that. I think it's from 1939. I have no idea why I remember this off the top of my head, but 1939 Armored Car Robbery, probably that one. They have this armored car robbery where they use smoke bombs, right? So in this one, they also use smoke bombs to get into the armored car. So maybe that's a bit of a callback, a reference to that old movie, maybe. I don't know that for sure, but it reminded me of that. So yeah, Burt Lancaster is kind of a a criminal, kind of a criminal. I don't want to spoil anything here, but he works at the armored car company, goes away, and then comes back, and then starts working with these criminals because of reasons. You'll figure it out if you watch the movie. So, but yeah, it's a fine noir. It's just like a strong 7 out of 10 for me. If I ever ended up rewatching it, maybe I could see myself getting into it more second time around. But yeah, I thought it was fine. Right, next up, a triple pack of movies. This is the Carlos Enrique Taboada set by Vinegar Syndrome. Says on a cover Mexican Gothic. There's one movie here that is kind of a Gothic horror movie. The other ones aren't, so that's maybe a bit of a strange title, false advertisement. So yeah, what do we have here? We have 3 movies. We have Rapina, Darker Than Night, and Poison for the Fairies. The first one that I watched them in the order that they are in on the back cover. So Poison for the Fairies, that's from the 1980s. Yes, that's the most recent movie. It's also that the order here is kind of weird because there's 1975, 1975, and then 1986. But yeah, 1986, Poison for the Fairies, I thought was the strongest movie in this set. I was very positively surprised by this set overall. I thought all of the movies were enjoyable and worth watching. But Poison for the Fairies in particular, I would give a solid 8 out of 10 for. It's in this subgenre of horror movies that is kind of like evil children horror movies. So you have this little girl who's like into Satan worshipping and like wants to be a witch, which is kind of hilarious. This really innocent and cute looking blonde little girl, like maybe a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old kid. And she's trying to corrupt this other little girl who is much nicer and is sort of not into this weird stuff at all. And yeah, it's this really, it's just a really enjoyable evil children horror movie about this girl who wants to be a witch and corrupt the other little girl. How much it is real and how much it is just the little kids playing, you can figure it out for yourself when you watch the movie. But yeah, highly recommended. Poison for the Fairies. If you are into horror movies and looking for some real deep cuts, that's a good one. Then the second one, Darker Than Night, it's another horror movie. That's the Gothic horror movie here. So it's your typical Gothic horror setting. There's a mansion. It's kind of old and dilapidated. A bunch of young women move into the mansion. And then there is this cat that was left there by the previous owner. So this old woman dies, and she has this cat. And these young women move into the mansion. One of them is a relative of the old woman, and blah blah blah. And this is a Gothic horror, cat horror movie. Really fun stuff. Like a solid 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's your typical Gothic horror movie also in the sense that you have these people going into the mansion and then they start getting killed off one by one. I don't want to spoil anything about the movie, but yeah, it is fun. It's a fun Gothic horror murder movie. Really enjoyable. And then Rapina, the third one, I don't know why it is in this set because it's not even a horror movie, but it's kind of a Mexican countryside version of this type of story that Akira Kurosawa told in The Hidden Fortress. So you have these kind of lower class, working class people who are looking for a way to get rich fast and exit the lifestyle that they are stuck in on this sort of mountainside small town that they are living in. And they run into a way where they could get a lot of money really fast, lots of riches. There's this plane crash, and they happen to find it first, and they loot the bodies and loot the plane and everything, and they are trying to get away with the crime thinking that they made it. But of course, because it's this sort of movie about money and trying to get rich fast, everything goes wrong, obviously. So yeah, I would give that one a solid 7 out of 10 as well. That was maybe a bit too long. It was over 2 hours long, but still enjoyable. So yeah, really positive surprise, Mexican Gothic by Carlos Enrique Taboada. Right, then I have another stack of movies here. Starting off with Prisoners, which is by Denis Villeneuve, the director of now many blockbusters like Blade Runner 2049 and the Dune series and everything. This is one of the not the early ones by him, but from the 2010s. So what is it? 2013. Very highly regarded movie, and I think it's great. This release annoys me because it's a Nordic Blu-ray, so Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland. But the back cover is only in Danish. What is up with that? Why would you do this? Why won't you have... usually Nordic releases have either English or just all 4 of the languages, or sometimes 2 or 3 of the languages, but always more than 1. Right? So what is the point of having all of the countries included in the subtitles, but then the back cover is just Danish? That's that's odd. But yeah, the movie itself is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I would give it a strong 9 out of 10. Not a full 10 out of 10 movie for me. I find it weird that people online, when they talk about this movie, they talk about it like it's some sort of a labyrinthian masterpiece where you have to view it multiple times to figure out all of the clues and everything. I figured out the whole thing immediately. Well, maybe I just got lucky, but there is this sort of it's a kidnapping movie. So for those who don't know, it's a movie about this sort of little girl gets kidnapped. Hugh Jackman is the father. He's trying to look for his kid. Jake Gyllenhaal is the police officer, kind of a detective who is trying to figure out what happened. And it's a 2-hour and 30-minute just non-stop, balls to the walls action thriller with just twists all over the place. Insane hyper violence and torture scenes, really not for the faint of heart. And I figured it out immediately. Like the first time, I'm not going to spoil who the person is who is the kidnapper, because there are many different options there. There are a bunch of people who are suspects and a bunch of people who are suspected by both the father and the detective. But yeah, it's really obvious. If you pay attention to the visual storytelling, if you pay attention to what the characters are talking about, it's easy to immediately figure out who the killer is, most likely. Of course, it could have been a red herring. I could have been wrong, but I wasn't. So I don't think it's nearly as complex of a movie as people make it out to be. It does have a lot of detail to it. Lots of hidden stuff, in the backgrounds of scenes and everything like that. But yeah, as far as 2000s movies go, this is one of the better ones, like a top 50 of the 2000s caliber movie for me. It's really good. So yeah, Prisoners. Let's put it there. Another movie that I really liked and thought, well, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I say that I really liked it, but that it is accurate, right? So this is a 1970s horror movie. If you watch horror movies from the 1970s, a 7 out of 10 is a really high score, like on average. 70s is a pretty weak decade for horror movies, in my opinion. It's top heavy. It has some really, really good ones, like one movie that I'm going to talk about in just a second, another 1970s horror movie. But well, actually, I'll move it up a bit from the stack, so I'll talk about it next. But yeah, it's top heavy with like Alien and Suspiria and movies like this. But then below that, there isn't that many other movies that are really worth highlighting. I think this is one of them. It's a solid 9, not a 9 out of 10. It's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. And this is Toys Are Not for Children by Stanley Braslov. I had no idea about this movie before I went into and watched it. I didn't know anything about it. And I was just floored by how incredibly dark and creepy this movie is. This is one of the darkest movies I've ever seen. Ever. And I say that as someone who has watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies that are exceedingly more brutal and darker than the last one. So yeah, movies don't often get under my skin, but this one did. Toys Are Not for Children. It's a movie about this young woman who has really, really bad dad issues and just issues with family life in general. And she ends up becoming a prostitute who sells herself for much older men who are into kind of like dad-daughter fetish fantasy stuff. It's dark, and it really goes for it. It's difficult to even talk about it without sounding like a creep, which I'm struggling with at the moment. But yeah, one thing that I really enjoyed about the movie is that the main character, so this woman here in the middle, she is actually a real character. Often in these sort of exploitation movies or movies that has a lot of exploitation elements in them, often the women who are exploited are just kind of objects who are used for by the director for the audience's like pleasure. It's not really the case here, because I think the main character is quite interesting. She's a fully fledged and developed character, and a very sympathetic character as well. You really feel sorry for her. So she isn't used in this sort of typical exploitation movie way, which I appreciated a lot, and which kind of elevates it above many other movies in this genre. But yeah, overall, I think like if you can stomach really dark material, Toys Are Not for Children is a fantastic pick from the 1970s. Right, and another 1970s horror movie, which is an all-time classic, I rewatched. I think I've seen this on television when I was like 10 years old the last time I saw it. So that's over 20 years ago at this point. So I watched Jaws again, which is one of the iconic 1970s horror movies, obviously. Not the first shark movie. There are many other shark movies and movies that have sharks in them before this, but this is the one. This is the most iconic one, obviously. The music, the theme song, everything has been ripped off a million times after it was done in Jaws. And yeah, I this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It doesn't age. The movie, it's always as good as when you last saw it. It looks so good. I guess some people probably think that the shark is kind of silly because it's just sort of an animatronic plastic thing flopping around, but I think the special effects are fantastic, and the special effects are still some of the best ever in any horror movie. And just yeah, they did it later with Jurassic Park, using these sort of animatronic animal characters to great effect. But Jaws, like this is from the 70s. There's no way it should look this good. And it still holds up. It looks great. Great thriller, great tension, just iconic lines. You're going to need a bigger boat. Like, there's nothing better than that. Just an all-around great thriller. So a strong 9 out of 10 for me. Right. Another Arrow horror movie that was a positive surprise for me is Dream Demon. And this is the director cut. So this is a 1980s horror movie. I had never even heard of this before Arrow released it, and it took me a long time to get around to watching it. But I'm glad I did, because this is exactly the type of horror that I enjoy. So this is like dream logic, non-linear storytelling, bizarre, confusing, and I absolutely love this sort of horror stuff. I think it's a hidden gem from the 1980s. Definitely worth watching. It's about this woman who sleeps, and while she's sleeping, she makes things happen for real. So people get killed in her dreams and this sort of thing. And she's trying to fight against this. Well, I don't know why it's called Dream Demon. It's not a demon really. It's a, what is it? It's not really a demon. It is a kind of a demonic entity, I guess, but it's not really a demon, I don't think. But yeah, it reminded me in parts of Hellraiser, with the hellscape imagery and everything, and yeah, it's fun. I really like Dream and Demon, so I'd even go as far as give it a low 8 out of 10, maybe a bit high for this sort of movie, but yeah, I liked it. Right, another Dream movie is Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. This is produced by A24, so you know that it's going to look great. But yeah, it's a Nicolas Cage movie. Nicolas Cage comes into people's dreams, and like everyone starts dreaming of Nicolas Cage. It becomes a huge phenomenon. I guess the problem with the movie is that they don't really go too far with it, or far enough with it. I would have liked to see them go into really dark and weird places with it. They don't. It doesn't ever get crazy like you would hope from a Nicolas Cage movie. It has a great premise and it is enjoyable, but yeah, I'd give it a like a low 7 out of 10. Maybe a bit of a disappointment, but still enjoyable. Now, another Nicolas Cage movie that I watched, this may be a weird one, but I watched G-Force, the animation movie with just a bunch of Kinnibigs in it. Nicolas Cage is a voice actor in this movie. He plays the mole, who is not anywhere on the cover, but yeah, he plays the mole character, and he is a really, really good voice actor. Nicolas Cage, such a good voice actor. You can kind of tell at times when you're listening to the mole speak that it is Nicolas Cage. You can hear it in a voice, but it's not obviously, it's not immediately obvious. And yeah, Nicolas Cage's performance in this movie is fantastic. Otherwise, it's a kids animated movie. It's not great. it's the most generic kids animated movie you could ever watch. Has all of the cliches you would expect, all of the scenes you would expect that are the most generic and cliched. But yeah, I mean, it's a low 5 out of 10 for me, but Nicolas Cage elevates it to something that is worth watching, I think. Right. Another horror movie. This is Talk to Me by the Filippo brothers. Where are they from? Are they from New Zealand? Or Australia? Somewhere around that region. I think. I could be wrong about it. Also, what is up with this? This is a Nordic Blu-ray. There is a 6-star review on the back cover. Is that a typo? I don't know. But or is that a 6 out of 10? How can you give a 6-star review? It's 5 stars, or if you're Roger Ebert, it's 4 stars. But well, whatever. Talk to Me. I'm not a huge fan of this horror movie. A lot of people really, really rate this highly, but I thought it was kind of mediocre. I often don't enjoy modern horror movies, but that's a consistent problem for me. I'm much more into the 80s and the 60s and stuff like that, even older stuff, than I am the modern movies. But yeah, I guess Talk to Me. What I did like about it is that it is an obvious critique and parody of modern like Zoomer culture, the social media driven just garbage culture that we are living in currently, and this movie is just openly mocking everything about it, which is great. But overall, it's just it. I mean, the ending is just way too drawn out. It takes forever, and there isn't really a satisfying definitive ending there, at least for my taste. For the movie as well, it is obviously inspired by Hellraiser. It's obviously inspired by Event Horizon. When in Event Horizon they find the log of the crew that had been there at the space station with the notorious kind of blood orgy scene, right? It's obviously that has been an inspiration for the people who made Talk to Me for multiple reasons, but overall, it's just I don't know. Also, the main actress, I don't remember her name. This woman right here on the left. Her performance is really over the top, and by the end, just I wasn't impressed by her acting at all. So I would give Talk to Me like a solid 6 out of 10. Not my thing. Right, and then just to piss more people off, I watched a couple of Francois Truffaut movies, and I've never been a huge fan of him either. So these are some of the movies that are considered like all-time great movies. And for some reason, they just don't do anything for me on a personal level. I can see that they are great. So I would give both of these like a solid 8 out of 10, maybe a high out of 10 for Jules and Jim. But yeah, I watched The 400 Blows and Jules and Jim. These are probably the two most famous Francois Truffaut movies. These are from 1959 and 1962. Before I watched these, I had only seen, I think, Shoot the Pianist, which I thought was a fine French crime movie. But I don't know why, but I just can't get into Francois Truffaut. I own probably close to 15 of his movies on Blu-ray, so I have quite a lot to watch still. But yeah, The 400 Blows, this is widely considered one of the greatest movies ever made. Tells the story of this young boy who has some trouble at home and at school and everywhere. He is a really smart kid. I mean, he is trying to get into high literature and everything, but just has some problems. Needs more role models in his life, and yeah, I mean, it's a great movie, but just not for me, not for my personal taste. And whenever I read appreciations or watch videos where people are talking about this movie, all of the things that they like the most about the movie, I can see that they are there, but they just don't do anything for me personally. It's difficult to even explain how that is, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't think it's necessary to like things for the sake of liking things, or because other people rate them highly, or because they are considered classics or part of the canon, right? It's just fine. Like, I don't have Citizen Kane in my top 100 favorite movies of all time. No, it's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's obviously a great movie, but it doesn't personally grab me. Right, Jules and Jim, I did enjoy more. It's this sort of a love triangle with these two men. Also turns into kind of a war movie at one point, because these guys are fighting in a war on opposing sides, which is interesting. But yeah, one thing that I really like about Jules and Jim is that now that I've seen this, I understand Wes Anderson's style. So the guy who did like Grand Budapest Hotel and the Royal Tenenbaums and this sort of stuff in the 2000s. I understand his style more, because especially the beginning of Jules and Jim, with this sort of a narrated montage kind of from these characters' lives, these sort of short snippets from different parts of their life. edited together with narration. It reminded me a lot of what Wes Anderson does in many of his movies, with sort of fast cutting style with narration, and this sort of visual story, very comedic visual storytelling. Right. So yeah, Jules and Jim. If I rewatched it, I would probably rate it even higher than I did now. But yeah, just solid 8 out of 10s, high 8 out of 10s for me, for my personal taste. Now, this next one, this is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. Like, this is one of the greatest westerns of all time. Unforgiven, directed by Clint Eastwood, featuring himself and Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, and so on. Just a brutal western, really dark and violent western. I would say even a shockingly dark western, because usually westerns are this sort of a good guy versus bad guy, and then the good guy shoots the bad guy in the end, and then they ride off into the sunset. This one isn't like that. I don't want to say much more about it. If you haven't seen Unforgiven, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's magnificent. Next up, closing to the end. This is going to be just a tiny bit over an hour, maybe a bit longer than I would have liked, but that's fine. The weaklings give up after 10 minutes. The true ones stay to the end. So if you're still here, you are a true one, part of the chosen ones. Right. So I also watched this action movie by Walter Hill, the great Walter Hill, one of my favorite action movie directors of all time. 48 Hours, featuring Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. So this is a buddy cop movie, one of the first in the genre, if not the first in the genre. It's probably not the first one, but it is often credited as one of the first ones. This is from 1982. So yeah, it's a movie about Nick Nolte, who is a badass cop, and Eddie Murphy, who is a criminal who is kind of recruited by Nolte into helping him catch another criminal, this sort of deal. You've seen it a million times after this movie. But yeah, it's a really funny action comedy movie. Has a great sequence in it where Eddie Murphy goes into a southern redneck bar with, all kinds of interesting white people in it who are probably a bit racist. And Eddie Murphy, kicks everyone's ass. It's great. So yeah, I would give 48 Hours a solid 8 out of 10. Really, really fun action movie. Right. In one of the Blu-ray collection videos, a person commented on Our Little Sister that I hadn't watched it. This is one of the rare Hirokazu Koreda movies that I hadn't seen yet. I've seen almost all of them. I haven't seen some of the newer ones, but now I think I've seen everything up to this movie. Like, this is probably, this is 2015. I've seen everything by Hirokazu Koreda up to this point. Now, I think. But yeah, Our Little Sister, it's another good movie by Hirokazu Koreda. What is there more to say about it? I mean, Koreda is by far my favorite 2000s director. From counting every director and all the different regions in the world, Hirokazu Koreda is my favorite director from the 2000s, easily. And some of his best work was in the late 90s as well. So yeah, it's another good one. Is it one of my favorites by him? Not necessarily, but it's definitely something that I can see myself going back to and rewatching at some point. So it's about this sort of trio of women, the sisters, who take under their wings this sort of a young girl who is related to them. You can read it from the back cover. It tells it in a much more elegant way than I can come up with right here. But yeah, it's a solid Hirokazu Koreda drama movie. Like, it's good. It's great at times, and it's really touching and heartfelt. All the characters are fantastic. Has some great actors in it. Is Lily Frankie here? I can't remember all of the actresses, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's there. But yeah, all of the actors are great, and yeah, it's a high 8 out of 10 at least. Maybe, but if I rewatch it, I'd rate it even a bit higher. Right, 4 more movies. The next 2 are from a box set. So I watched from the Arrow V Cinema Essentials box set. I watched not this one, but the other one, which is Danger Point: The Road to Hell. I watched The Hitman earlier, and both of these movies on this disc are probably the weakest of the box set, I would say. I can't even remember what The Hitman is. The only thing I remember about The Hitman is that it's by Teruo Ishii. But yeah, Danger Point, it's, again, one of the weakest entries from the box set. It has a lot going for it. It's directed by Yasuharu Hasebe, probably best known as the one of the assistant directors of Seijun Suzuki. And he also directed some movies that were kind of mimicking the style of Seijun Suzuki, like Black Tide Killers, released by Radiance on Blu-ray a while ago. He also did a bunch of Yakuza movies that are kind of highly rated, like Massacre Gun and Retaliation. But here, I don't know. It has Sho Aikawa in it, the great V Cinema actor. It also has Joe Shishida in it, who is probably best known for where is it there? Joe Shishida worked with Seijun Suzuki on, for example, Branded to Kill. This guy with the cheeks famously has cheek implants, looks like a chipmunk. An iconic look. But yeah, it's kind of it's a body assassination movie, or body assassin movie. So you have 2 assassins who are kind of working together, and I don't remember much about the movie, to be honest. I just remember that it has Sho Aikawa and Joe Shishido in it, and it's not really that interesting in many ways. So kind of a forgettable entry. I'd give it a 6, like a low 6 out of 10, just a basic 6 out of 10. And then the other one that I watched from the box set is Female Prisoner Scorpion: Death Threat, which I guess is technically, is it the 7th Female Prisoner Scorpion movie? I think it is, because there are 4 in the original series, the 1970s, the classic Female Prisoner Scorpion series. There are 4, and then there was a new Female Prisoner Scorpion, also in the 70s, by a different director and just different actors all across the board. And I think there were 2 of those movies. I have never seen those, so I don't know much about them. And then there is this one, which is kind of a 90s reboot. So I guess this is the 7th movie in the series. And it was surprisingly good. Some people call it I guess I'll put this here on top because this is a print from the movie. Some people call this a remake of Female Prisoner Scorpion. I have no idea why, because it's not a remake of the original movie. This is the canon for Female Prisoner Scorpion is kind of hazy because even in the original 4 movies, I felt that by the time they got to the 4th movie, it wasn't really a direct sequel anymore to the original movie. It was kind of far away from the original movie. And now here, this is kind of a sequel to the first movie. So this is kind of a new second movie in the original series. It's strange. I cannot claim to even have a deep understanding of the Female Prisoner Scorpion lore, but yeah, this has a different female character, so it's not Meiko Kaji, and she goes undercover into the prison from the original movie to kind of figure out what is going on at the prison. And yeah, I thought it was fun. This is like a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I was really positively surprised by it. I was expecting it to be just some garbage throwaway movie cashing on the name of this really famous iconic series from the 70s, but it ended up being pretty good. So that's nice. Yeah, and then to finish off, in the Artificial Eye collection video, I mentioned that I hadn't watched all of the Tarkovsky movies from the box set. So I watched Nostalgia and The Sacrifice. Now I've seen all of them. Now, Tarkovsky is one of the all-time great directors. I would say that Stalker and Solaris are my favorites still, and then after that Andrei Rublev, and then Nostalgia. Nostalgia I really enjoyed a lot. It deals with many of the same themes as Mirror, I think. So you have this sort of a Russian man who goes into Italy because of work and such. And while he is there, he's kind of moving around this incredible architecture in Italy and all of these magnificent buildings, and reminiscing on his own childhood, these sort of fragments from his childhood, or these fragments of memories from his childhood that are just some of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in any movie. The flashback sequences, they have such a bizarre and unique, dreamlike quality to them. And the music and everything, like the movement, it feels like it's moving in slow motion. And you're like, it feels like you are in slow motion in real life while you're watching these scenes. It is such a powerful and just unique movie in many ways. Like Tarkovsky's movies are in general. Like, there is nothing like it. There's nothing like this anywhere. But still, can I give Nostalgia a 10 out of 10? Probably not. I'd give it a strong 9 out of 10. It's just that there are moments in it that I do not enjoy. It is so slow. It is so meditative and so slow that at times it is almost excruciating to watch. But it's still a great movie. It is still a fantastic movie. I don't know if I will ever rewatch it because I kind of like the idea that I've watched it now and I have this memory of having watched it. And I want to hold on to that memory of having watched it and how I kind of remember the movie being, and especially the flashback scenes, remember what they kind of looked like in my memories. I'm kind of building my own nostalgia for the movie Nostalgia in my mind, this sort of thing. But yeah, just also the final image in Nostalgia with the childhood house of the main character and him sitting there on the ground while the camera is slowly zooming out and getting further and further away from him. That has to be one of the greatest ending sequences ever to any movie. Also with the female vocalist singing this haunting song on top of that. It's so good, man. It is so good, and I'm so sad that there aren't more movies like this. I'm so sad that Tarkovsky couldn't make more movies before he died young. Right, and then lastly, his last movie, so The Sacrifice. That one I have to say I didn't enjoy nearly as much. It's still a Tarkovsky movie, so it has the cinematography in it that just no one else could pull off. Right at the beginning of The Sacrifice, there is this imagery of this sort of a... It's shot in Sweden, so it looks very different from other Tarkovsky movies. It was shot in Sweden, and it has many of the same people working on it, both actors and then behind the camera in the crew, who worked with Ingmar Bergman, the great Swedish director. So it has this strange mix of things that feel like they are Tarkovsky and things that feel like they are Bergman. And it's at times a strange combination. But at the start of the movie, there is this imagery of like grass swaying in the wind. There's a really strong gust of wind blowing and the grass is swaying in the wind. And I mean, who else could make imagery like that look as good as Tarkovsky did? It's magical. It's just magic how he manages to pull this stuff off. But unfortunately, the movie itself, besides the great imagery, it's kind of dull for me. I didn't enjoy it. And I especially didn't enjoy the Swedish actors. I don't want to call them higher class people. They are kind of, because if you are an American or a British or a Brit, if you are from America or from Britain, and you hear the word higher class or high class, you get an image in your mind that just isn't the reality when it comes to, for example, a Swedish or Finnish people, because we were never that rich to begin with. But yeah, it's these kind of upper society, upper class people from Sweden just whining throughout the entirety of the movie. There is this some kind. It's like a Second World War trauma movie in a sense, I would guess, or a Cold War trauma movie where there is this constant threat of annihilation, some kind of a cataclysmic event. There's air raid sirens blasting in the background in many scenes. Those are some of the best scenes in a movie, in my opinion, where it almost turns into a like a horrific war movie. But yeah, the dialogue is some of the worst in any Tarkovsky movie, with just these Swedish people whining about things and then, laying around on the floor, just crying and whining. It's annoying. It's really annoying. So I am sad. I'm saddened that I couldn't enjoy the last Tarkovsky movie more. But I would still give it a basic 7 out of 10. Again, maybe if I rewatch it, I will enjoy it more. It is considered an all-time classic, but it's also, I guess, not mainly, but partly in part because of it's a Tarkovsky movie. He is such a revered figure in a film. But yeah, I guess that's enough on The Sacrifice. And yeah, that's a stack of movies that I watched recently and some of my thoughts on it. I'll try to make the other ones a little bit shorter, but well. If it runs long, it runs long. I don't care. It's all about me talking anyway. So does it really matter if it's 50 minutes or an hour and 50 minutes? For some people, it does matter, but I don't care. I'm doing this for my own amusement. Right. So thanks for watching if you are here at the end of the video still. And yeah, I'll see you next week for something else. Bye.